Hi guys, it's Marieta. Thank you so much for tuning in. So today I want to talk about how you should not let failure define your future. Coming up. Alright, so I want to talk about this topic, kind of motivational video today, not practical, none of that. Which by the way, I love these topics of motivational, empowering, and inspirational videos. So I want to talk about how or why, actually not even how, but more on why you should not let failure define your future, or why you shouldn't let failure define yourself. So let me explain. Yesterday I shared this post on, I think, on Facebook and Instagram, where I talk about the failure, and it was specifically for people who feel like a failure, people who failed in life, in every area of their life, whether it's relationship, business, money, and so on. And something I want to tell you is that failure is inevitable. Failure is just a proof that you are trying, okay? Not everyone is going to get it right off the bat. And I'm talking in every area of your life, okay? I did talk about my personal failures in my book, Love is the Law, pretty publicly. I disclosed my failures. And I can tell you something, looking back, coming to US as a struggling immigrant with $700, not speaking any English, people told me there's no way I will be able to live in the United States. There was a specific person who told me, who do you think you are? You're going to move to US and you're going to become an attorney in US. And who do you think you are? You're going to make things happen. And he was laughing at me. And I remember that very clearly. This was a long time ago, 15 years ago. Guess what? Fast forward, I am that person who I decided to become. Even though back then I couldn't see it coming, or actually I could see it coming, but I didn't know how it's gonna happen. Now, on the way I experienced so many failures, all right? So I'm gonna share these failures with you as a point of illustration, but I'm also gonna give you evidence that you should not let this failure define you, because when you do that, when you let failure define you and you feel like a victim, that is going to actually prevent yourself from moving forward in your life and actually creating. So I'm going to also share with you what I do when I feel like a failure. And by the way, I do feel like a failure a lot. But I never, even though I feel like a failure here and there, I never let the failure define me, and I never let the failure define my future. So I remember the time when I moved to US and I went back to school. I was admitted to one of the best law schools in the country, Northwestern, in Chicago. And after I graduated, nobody would give me a job. Nobody would hire me, and I felt like a failure, okay? Nobody would hire me, and nobody would give me the H-1B visa. And I felt like a complete failure because there were people, my classmates, who actually got their jobs, and nobody would hire me. And I just couldn't figure it out. Well, it was back in 2010, the market was full of unemployed lawyers. So it was a very difficult time, and I was competing with these American lawyers and so on. And in my case, I would need this work visa, and nobody would give me the work visa. And long story short, I was not willing to give up. Because I had this dream that I wanted to live in the US, and I wanted to be a lawyer, and I wanted to practice law, and I wanted to basically live my American dream. So I was not willing to let that failure define me, and I was not willing to let that failure to define my future. So here is what I did. I actually used the failure and created full-blown success. So here's what I did. I decided to create my own business without any business skills, without any marketing and sales skills. I started my company, my first company. I co-founded this business with a business partner. Later on, I lost that company and I started from scratch again, which is another story for another video. But I did not let that failure define me. I started my own business, and I supported myself, and I sponsored myself, and I reinvented myself. And I started this journey because the experience gave me the blueprint that I was literally applying to other future clients. I'm talking immigrants, foreign entrepreneurs coming to the US. So exactly what I did, I started a business, I invested into myself, I invested into my company, I reinvented myself. That is exactly the blueprint I was offering, and I'm still offering to this day in my company Immigration Biz. So I reinvented myself and I used that failure. In other words, I made a lemonade out of these lemons. Okay, that's exactly what I did. And everything I do in my business and in life is actually based on this premise that I don't let failure define me. In other words, I consciously decide to use that fuel of the failure and create something out of this failure that is positive. Okay? So whatever in your life you're experiencing right now, you can turn it around. Let me give you another example. When I started my business, I had no idea how to run a business. I had no idea how to run a company. I had no idea how to make money. I was a lawyer, okay? I was licensed attorney, but I wasn't trained in marketing, in sales, and so on. So what I did, I invested thousands of dollars into additional education where I learned how to basically run my business, how to grow the company, how to hire people, how to acquire clients, how to sell, blah, blah, blah. And this knowledge that I acquired because I invested into additional educational programs, workshops, seminars, and so on, I became self-development junkie. Then I started to use, when I'm coaching my clients in my other company, Marieta Oslanec, which is business coaching for purpose-driven, soulful entrepreneurs. And that is exactly my second business that came as a result of a failure. Again, another failure because I was failing. I was not able to make money. I was not sure how to sell. People and clients were taking advantage of me. So again, I was forced to reinvent myself within the business, which was another failure, right? And I used that as a fuel to actually create this other business that I have. And by the way, that is exactly why I started this YouTube channel, because I wanted to give you this knowledge, because this is something that obviously I don't talk about on Immigration Biz channel, but here I do talk about all these things which are connected with the mindset, with the consciousness, and with the business itself. So I use that again, that failure, and I turn it into something great, into positive. I can give you another example. When I was writing my book, Love is the Law, I could not figure it out how to publish this book. I did not have the money to publish it. I had no idea how to publish the book, and I could not find publisher. I just couldn't, and nobody would publish my book because this was 4 years ago. I didn't really have platform. Now I do have platform, combined audience of 100,000 people from different channels and social media accounts, but back then I didn't, and so no publisher was interested. And again, I did the same thing. I make lemonade out of those lemons, and I twisted those lemons, make a lemonade. So what did I do? I learned everything how to publish my book. I published the book myself, and then publisher from Europe came who asked me if I want to collaborate. We signed a deal, we signed a contract, and now they're publishing my book in Europe, actually next month, and in Slovak and Czech market. So what I'm saying here is that, guys, somebody tells you you cannot do something, you will look at them and tell them, watch me. Because that is the premise of my life, that's the premise of my business, that's exactly how I operate. And the same thing with these YouTube channels, right? I started my first YouTube channel and I didn't tell anybody. And my other YouTube channel, Immigration Biz, is #1 channel within the investor visas niche. And I already made a video why you should start a YouTube channel. If you want, you can check it out. But I'm just giving you this for illustration. And I had the feeling like I didn't want to start a YouTube channel because I have my accent. But guess what? Nobody cares. Like, if you're providing content that is valuable, you're going to grow your YouTube channel. But again, I'm giving you that definition of failure should not define you. The reason is that, let's suppose I let that failure define me, that I couldn't get a job in the US. I'll probably leave United States and I will return back to Slovakia. I would never start my own business. I would never help hundreds of entrepreneurs. I would never brought millions of dollars to US economy. Let's talk about my coaching business. I would never start coaching business because I would never study everything about marketing and sales. Like, I would never do it, right? So I would never actually start this coaching business. I would not be able to actually teach people what I know now. And obviously I would not be able to write my book, because my book has actually the story that is the story of the failure, how I was able to turn that failure into success. And so people want to hear stories, people want to hear content that is real, not some polished ideal perfection, and I was born in a rich family and I got this and that and I'm billionaire now and blah blah blah. See what I mean? Like, nobody's interested in that. People are interested in somebody who is the hero, in a sense of overcoming challenge after challenge, objection after objection, struggle after struggle, and turning it into something amazing. And my entire life was built on this premise that I was not willing to let the failure define my life, period. So if you're currently going through pain, struggling, failure, many of you guys, many of us are going through difficult times this year. 2020 has been insane. Let me tell you, you do not let that failure define you. The moment you let the failure define you, you're done. Like, you cannot move on. But if you actually keep going, and if you actually take a bigger picture, bird's eye view, you will understand that actually that failure is a seed of your success. That failure is actually the start of your new life. So for example, if you lost a job, if you are currently broke financially, which again, I've been there myself, take it as temporary period. It's now, but it doesn't have to be like that. If you decide consciously that you don't want to be in this situation, and you create a new plan and you reinvent yourself. Now, obviously, your ego is going to be telling you you don't want to invent yourself, like it's scary, and it's going to feel uncomfortable. But still, if you consciously decide that you're not going to be defined by the failure and your past, guess what? Eventually, you will succeed. But you just have to be stubborn enough to carry on despite the obstacles, despite the difficult circumstances and the struggles, and you will get there. I know you will get there because I know how it works. Like, you know, in a way, I believe obviously in law of attraction, and the positivity is important component, but it's also the work that you put in, and it's also that persistence that you need to have, because sometimes things actually take time. It might take years, right? And so I hope you enjoyed this video, and certainly if you want to dig deeper, I recommend that you get my book, Love is the Law, because that book is giving you the blueprint, how you overcome every single challenge and how you turn it around, and basically how you activate your genius and create a life you absolutely love. So guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm also gonna give you additional videos to watch. In these videos, you're gonna find useful information, what to do and how to cope in challenging times, and also something that I call symptoms of awakening. You might have symptoms of awakening, but this is a good awakening, especially if you're struggling personally, if you're feeling like you are failing. And these might be the symptoms, but always remember, never give up, and you have the power to create the future you want as long as you keep going. So thank you so much for tuning in, guys. Love you, and I'll see you soon. Bye.